you can see, you have a seller that sells the it to the buyer in return for the consideration. Let's look at what it is. Now, most people are going to say that it is a product or a service or even an idea or concept or information. And I suppose they're right from a certain point of view. But what's really going on, what's happening underneath that, is much more interesting than just the basic on the surface concept there. You see, we don't actually buy any products, and we don't pay for any of these products or services with anything that even resembles money. They're just the mechanics. What's going on, what's really going on, is much more interesting. Let's look at the sales process. Let's look at what we really buy. Consider how you feel when you buy something you really want. How do you feel about it prior to purchase? How do you feel about it during the process of buying? And how do you feel about what you've bought afterwards? What emotions do you feel? Have a moment and think about that. You know, apart from the physical aspect of what you've purchased, what did you get from the transaction? What did you get from it emotionally? How did you feel about it? If you're like most people and you bought something you really wanted, you'll get happiness, excitement, possibly joy, pleasure, maybe peace of mind. All of these emotions will come in when you buy something you want. And if you buy something you need, and I say the word need in inverted commas, and we'll come on to that in a moment, then you might feel that peace of mind or relief or the removal of worry. And you may just feel generally an emotional lift from having sorted out something you needed to do. Even if it meant you paying for something you really didn't want to have to pay, the fact you've had to pay it and now it's paid will give you some form of relief, peace of mind that you had to do something unpleasant and it's now done. You see, fundamentally, we never buy anything. Ever. We don't buy a product. We don't buy a service for what it is. We buy it for what it does for us, for what it gives us. What we buy are the benefits of having it, the benefits of ownership. For example, take petrol. Now, none of us who drive cars enjoy pouring money into our car just to get from A to B. I think if you're like me, a lot of us resent having to buy petrol. And the only way around that is perhaps to buy an electric car. But we buy petrol to make our lives easier, for the convenience, to get to A to B without having to go on public transport, to save ourselves time, for many, many reasons. So actually, whilst we don't enjoy paying for petrol, we do enjoy the convenience it gives us, the ability to get from A to B without having to wait on others that it gives us, maybe the pleasure of motoring if you get pleasure from motoring. These are all elements of enjoyment and pleasure and peace of mind that we get from buying a product that most people would say, oh, I don't like buying. But what you like is what it can do for you. You see, we never buy petrol. We buy the convenience that it affords us. Now the thing is, people will say that we buy petrol because we need to buy it, not because we want to buy it. I'd like to look at that. So do we buy because we need or want? And this is fundamental to you and your life as a salesperson, the understanding of the difference between needs and wants. And to do that, I'd like you to look at Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So the hierarchy of needs goes from the bottom, physiological, up to safety, up to love and belonging, up to esteem, and all the way to the top, to self-actualization. And when Abraham Maslow wrote his hierarchy of needs, he said, or he suggested that until we had our basic physiological needs met, we couldn't move on to meeting our safety needs and we couldn't move on to meeting our love and belonging needs or our needs of esteem before we could get to self-actualization. Now, actually, we don't need that much. Let's look at physiological. We need air, water, sleep, and food, and I think we'll all accept those are basic needs. Everything else is a desire for more. We don't need to have a house, it's just more convenient. We don't need to have people loving us, we just like that. So actually you could say that apart from the physiological requirements, everything else is wants. We don't need a new car or a new bag or new shoes, we want them. Or actually we want what they do for us. And actually if you look at the physiological needs, even they have wants. In physiological needs, we're going to have desires. Take air. Do we want better quality air? I'd say we do. Do we want water? Well, if we didn't want better water, Evian, Volvic, they wouldn't exist. There'd be no company called Perrier if we didn't have this desire for a better quality water. What about sleep? You can sleep on the floor. It's not comfortable, but you can. Or sleep on a very cheap mattress. And yet people spend thousands of pounds on improving the experience of their sleep. Let me ask you this, why would you want a better night's sleep? Because it makes you feel better.